morning, everyone. I'm back here at home and I wanted to give you guys an update on the quail. So some of you have been following my series of raising Coturnix quail for eggs, and taking you back to end of May is when I picked them up. They're really small, and I originally was supposed to get 10, and the person I bought them from gave me 12 because he knew there'd probably be a bit of mortality potentially, but all of them did really well and ended up surviving out to 8 weeks. So it turns out, out of the 12, I was hoping for 5 female and 5 males, statistically speaking, but what I ended up with was 8 females for the eggs, which is great, and 4 males. So just a moment, I'm going to take you to where they are right now, and they're in my insulated garage. The garage worked out really well. You know, it protects them from the weather and extremes of temperature and humidity, which is super important. So, when I first got them, it was super cold outside. So, with the young ones, you want to keep them quite warm. So in the upper 90s in terms of temperature. So I had a special lamp on them, and the garage kept them nice and warm and out of the drafts. Now, it's getting really hot this summer. So, even though there's no air conditioning in there, with the garage door closed, it's actually nice and cool in there. And I have a little thermometer in there, and it keeps them around between 22 and 25 Celsius. That's in the low 70s, so that's decent for them right now. So I have them in a rabbit hutch setup, and I sort of jigged that a little bit differently for them, so they are on the wire because they do poop quite a lot. So I'll show you their little setup there, and I also I have a new watering system for them, so I want to show that to you. So let's take a look. Well, there are the ladies. So right now I've got the females in the rabbit hutch. There are 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom, and you can see them all there. Can you believe how big they've gotten? They're about 8 weeks old right now. And I'm just sort of out here this morning, seeing if there's any eggs, cleaning them up. I typically, clean them out every couple days or so. It's kind of traumatizing to haul them all out and do that, so I don't try to, alarm them too much. You can see right now, a lot of them have bands on their legs. That just helps me identify them. The little green banded one right there I call Karen. Karen typically claims to the management about her accommodations and wants to come out and hang out. So I'm in the process of naming them now that I know kind of who they are and their little personalities by their little leg band there. You can hear them making soft little noises. They aren't very loud at all. And then see these ones down here. There's a tuxedo in the back, the brown and white one, and then there's the 3 wild type, which have that little brown and black flecking with a little bit of beige on them. I've got a couple of different feeding systems there, just because the one right here at the bottom, they're on back order everywhere. It's really hard to get supplies for them. And as you guys know, in the corner you can see each of them has a little nesting box area there. And my hope was that they would lay their eggs in there. Now I want to direct your attention down here because this morning I came out and there's an egg right here. So let's take a look at it. Many of them are starting to lay right now. I have about 5 or 6 out of the 8 that are actually laying eggs. They're just kind of getting to maturity there. As you can see, I've got them on the wire here because they are prolific poopers, and down here are trays that you can kind of pull out and put shavings in to kind of absorb the moisture from their bathroom efforts. So there we go. That's what a quail egg looks like. Isn't it gorgeous? There are a majority of my females that I have laying so far produce these beige and brown eggs. I do have one that produces has a celadon gene, and the background is actually blue with brown speckling. How cool is that? So they've been producing a ton of eggs for me so far. It's awesome. Royce likes them. We like them. I've pan fried them. I've boiled them. I'm amassing enough now to maybe start pickling them, which will happen soon. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll do a pickling recipe. I'm sure you guys would like seeing something like that. So some of you may be wondering, where are the boys? So let's talk about that. So the male birds, as they mature, they start being very interested in the ladies, and they start crowing in the morning, which is awesome. I would always wake up at 5 in the morning with the male birds crowing, and they make a very interesting sound. You can kind of Google what Coturnix quail male sound like. So as they're getting more interested in the ladies, they're approaching, anywhere between 6 and 7 weeks old. They do start to mate with them, and so what they do is they run around, grab them by the feathers, jump on their backs, and do their thing. Typically, I'd house a male with about 3 to 4 females. But I started finding out as they were maturing that I had more males than I thought, which like made a problem basically. It's very difficult to house, you know, 2 males, you know, with 4 females. It just becomes a major competition, and they always want to breed. So I was noticing that I was coming out here and the females were always getting really distressed. They were always shrieking and kind of running around the cage and like kind of popcorning all over the place. And then it was the males that were chasing them around and jumping on them, and being really aggressive, like pulling feathers out and things like that. So, you know, I noticed this going on for like about a week or so. I thought, okay. And I thought, I gotta do something because this is not great. And it was last weekend, I had gone out for a bit and I came back, I got a little bit of lunch, and I noticed one of my females had her eye closed. And what had happened, and I noticed there's a bit of a skirmish. You know, I'd come back, I'd check on them, and there's a lot of birds, you know, tearing around the cage. And the one female came out and had a severe injury to her eye. So she'd been pecked in the eye by a male. So I thought, oh my goodness, that's like, this cannot happen. They're just too aggressive with them. Now together, all the females, they seem to, you know, I pulled the males out right away. The females were instantly calmed by having the males removed. So I put them in a bachelor pad, you know, a bigger space for them to be till I could figure out what to do with them. And I tried offering them up for sale, you know, contacting various different people and, you know, for pets, for breeders. But really there's not a market for male quail out there other than meat. So I made the decision, and yes, it was a tough one, to cull them from the flock and use them for meat. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, producing your own food is really important, especially nowadays. There's a lot of food insecurity with the pandemic and things like that. So I made the tough decision to cull them humanely from the flock. And now I just have the 8 females. So it worked out for the best. You know, it's just the flock is so much happier. They aren't in distress anymore, laying out distress calls and the males chasing them around. It's just not really feasible to have all the males separately and individually housed. You know, if you're a big quail operation and you have a lot of cage setups and you want to keep them for breeders, and you know, I don't really want to get into like crazy fertilized egg production. Again, I'm not quite sure of the market even for that. I think it's pretty tough. Didn't get a lot of bites, you know, trying to sell the quail as it was. There is a small market for quail eggs, you know, in the luxury food market and also for raw dog food. So, you know, there are options to sell eggs there, obviously curbside, but I want to have enough birds that I can manage for eggs. 8's about fine for me. They are producing quite a lot for me right now. It's hard to stay on top of it. So I'm pretty happy with, you know, the 8 birds that I have right now. Things seem to be going well. They're calm. And I'll give you an update on a little bird that had her eye pecked. So it's that one at the back there, the tuxedo. You can see her eyes on the right side is wide open right now. It was completely closed shut last weekend. And I actually did some treatment on her. There's a Facebook group of quail owners, and you know, unfortunately sometimes these injuries happen and they do go for the eyes. You know, if they aren't pecking each other's bodies, they will go for the eyes. So yeah, she's doing really well at the back there. I'll get out of her face, she's a little bit nervous. So what I did is I was recommended to me to use like an eye drop. I mean, some people are like, oh, don't do anything, but I mean, I don't know. I'm sure their beaks aren't that clean. So I just went to the store and I got polysporin antibiotic eye drops. And I just put a drop in her eye a couple times a day. And within a few days, the eye started to open again. It was super cloudy. And she was kind of, you know, squinting a little bit. So I think definitely her eyeball got poked. But with the polysporin eye drops, honestly, here we are a week later, the eye is 100%. So that was a huge relief. I felt terrible that she got injured in the first place, you know, that I failed her somehow, and maybe having that one extra male for those 4 females, that shouldn't have happened. But again, whatever, it's sad. It's my first year farming quail, so I'm learning a whole lot about them and learning a lot about birds, you know, that they can be extremely aggressive. I mean, even the females, there is a pecking order, so you can't just pop, you know, a new female in with, you know, the 4 that have been used to each other. If I put another one in there, they're going to chase the other one around. They're going to peck at it. And, you know, as soon as there's blood, you know, there is that expression, chickens at a pecking party, they will get aggressive with each other. So you have to be really, really careful. I mean, and, you know, it's important to give them a lot of space as well. The higher the density stocking of quail, the more aggressive they're going to get with each other, and, you know, get resource guarding their, you know, their food and their water and things like that. You know, there is that pecking order. So you want to be really, really careful. Just kind of keeping an eye on what they're doing behind me, seeing if Karen's making an appearance or not. So yeah, so right now I've got them 4 and 4. They're pretty happy with their little, their roommates, no squabbling, things like that. So that's good. They make a lot of little happy cooing noises, and you know, peace has been restored. So behind me, you'll see some tubes there. Let's go take a look at the watering system I made. So it is a 20-liter pail, and I put, there's just a fitting in here. And if I show you what it looks like inside, you can see the fitting right there. And I've just got some tubing, and I bought like these little bits here from, this is just like a little on-off switch for the water. So if I go like that, cuts off the water to the bucket, and I can service this area right here. And this turns on the water flow. I got this all from like a chicken store online in Southern Ontario. This is kind of an incorrect setup here. I don't know, this is for a separate caging system, but I just wanted these little red cups here. And as you can see, they've got these little bars, and if they peck at them, and I'll just hold it down, you can see the water fills up. So the bowls aren't meant to be full. Oh, there's Karen. What's up? You know, they aren't meant to be full. The bowls are really meant to catch the drip. So what they do is they peck on this, a few little water driplets come out, and they have a good drink. And why I'm using these is that it just keeps them, oh gosh, see, and then they do that, and they step on it, and then the water goes in the pen. Anyway, so why I'm using this is that it actually keeps the water fairly clean, aside from Karen's foot there. You know, she's always causing some trouble. When you have like the bigger waters that I had before, they kick the shavings into it no matter how high you put it up, and you know, they poop in it and all that kind of jazz. But you see that one down there is pecking on the little yellow tab and getting a little bit of a drink there. So what you can see is I just used some tubing and, you know, some various fittings to connect all this together. And so there's 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and that's perfect. That's like more than enough bowls they need for how many birds that are in there. And then, I don't know, I've got this other little setup here. I kind of did this a little bit backwards, but this is another way if I want to, you know, turn it off at the top. I can also, yeah, I can drain the other part of the system down here. That's an on-off switch into a bucket or whatever. And I can kind of clean them out. And the bowls, they unscrew, so you can clean them. And yeah, so some of them like to have fun and play in the water. But by and large, it's a really good setup. And, you know, I change out the water every couple of days. I don't have to fill it all the way to the top, obviously. But it's just better for them this way, because I used to have like kind of like that little feeder right there. I would have like well, there's one of them at the back. See that little plastic container there that used to fill with water, and it would go in there. But I just found they just horsed around in it, dumped it everywhere, and got it extremely dirty. And that makes them sick, you know. If they have, well, there's a little bit of a skirmish down there. If you guys witnessed that a little bit, there's a bit over the food there, I think. Yeah, so I'm just happier with this setup, and it literally took me, I don't know, like half an hour to kind of put together. Once I kind of figured it out, yeah, I think down here I need to fix the tubing. That's a little bit weird. I don't know why I did it like that. But anyway, so that's the setup right now. And, you know, the birds are doing really well. So these birds will lay 300 days out of 365, as long as you keep the lighting up. They're kind of like, you know, in the woods there, the grouse. They're very, very oriented to light. They need about, you know, quite a bit of light a day, 16 hours a day to trigger them to lay their eggs. So it's handy in the garage too to have the lights on, because then they know it is time to, you know, lay their eggs. And you do not have to have males. This is proof. You do not have to have males to have the birds lay eggs. So they will, you know, they will lay eggs. They won't be fertilized. When I had the males, if I cracked open an egg, you could see the fertile spot in it. So I could have hatched those out if I wanted. These ones will be infertile eggs. I mentioned earlier these little nesting boxes, and they always kick the shavings out of them, but sometimes, yep, you'll see a little egg in there. So they like to lay eggs in here too. You can see a little hooked tip there of a Karen's beak. You can see she's modeling it for you there. Some quail, you know, quail keepers, as they're called, will trim the very, very tip of that off with just like a little kid's nail trimmer. We're not going in the part that would lead to, you know, bleeding and stuff like that. It would just be to take that sharp little hook that's growing over the edge of the beak there. So yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it, and they're moving around pretty fast and furious this morning. So it doesn't bleed or anything. There you can see it right there. So that really sharp little point, that also will help. You know, if they were to get in a little bit of a skirmish, there won't be as much damage. If they were to peck each other, it won't necessarily cause such a bad wound. So some people will do that. You don't have to, but if you're starting to have trouble might be a good idea to, there you go, you can see it, to trim that little, like it's like 1 or 2 millimeters off the tip, that really sharp point to the bill. And you can see right there. Just inside now, I want to show you some of the eggs I've got. This is just this week, and there's already some I've eaten. These ones are boiled. I boiled them with a bit of baking soda so I could peel them a little bit easier. So they're just a little bit more muted in their colors. These are the ones got in the last 24 hours. Look at all the variety, you know, in the eggs. Pretty cool. You'll notice that there is a little bit, once they kind of dry, like I get these when they're pretty much fresh out of the birds. I check them a couple times a day. Most of them will lay in the evening. You can see there's a little bit of a haziness to the surface of the egg. That's the bloom that keeps bacteria out, and it seals it and keeps it healthy. Quail eggs you can keep on the counter for 30 days or in the fridge for a lot longer than that. I keep mine in the fridge just because it's convenient and it's what I'm used to, but you can keep them on the counter at room temperature. To cut the eggs open for, you know, cooking, like they're super hard to kind of crack. If you crack them, they can just shatter everywhere. So I have special scissors. And they look like this, and you just basically, I'm not gonna do it now, but you basically, you know, you stick the egg in the top of it and you go boop, and it cuts the top off for you. So you can get these online on Amazon, a kitchen store, but Amazon is where I got those. So yeah, they're pretty beautiful. These ones don't show my Celadon Jean bird, but you know, maybe this one's a little bit greenish, but yeah, I think they're beautiful. There's one that always, you know, lays an egg that has a lot of dark pigmentation on it, like a Rorschach blot. So I think they're pretty beautiful. I got these little containers on Amazon as well, and I just kind of pop them in the fridge. I kind of want to get stickers for them as well. I may have a couple people interested in buying them. They usually sell for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 Canadian dollars a dozen. So, you know, and we're allowed to sell them kind of door side here, as long as it's kind of sold right on premises. A little bit different than chicken eggs. So there you go. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the little quail update. And I'm going to be swimming in eggs pretty soon, so I need to look up some recipes, and maybe we can do a video on a recipe with quail eggs. Stay tuned. Hope you guys have a great week as always. Take care.